Hi guys, so we're going to talk about books I've been reading in the month of September, what did I read, what I'm going to read in October and so on. Um, let's start with the first book I finished, which was an audiobook, All in the World, which is the third novel in a trilogy by Brian Keane. It's a trilogy about a bunch of people who are transported to another world and they must try to get together and try to survive because it's very inhospitable world. To be honest, I've read like 20 novels by Brian King. Most of them are horror. These ones, they have some horror elements, but they are mostly fantasy slash sword and sorcery. Okay, the first two. And this one is more like a survivor kind of novel. It was good. I know I've read that he's going to release a fourth one on the series, but we don't know. The second novel I finished was Richard Lemon's Funline, which is an horror book by one of my favorite horror writers. I know some people don't like his writing stuff because it's too sexual. This one has some sexual elements, but they are not the main focus. Although it's 500 pages, I think it was a bit long. It could have been, it could have taken 100 pages without any problems, but at least I enjoyed a lot of this novel. It's a bunch of people who live in a city and they are trying to, a bunch of kids that they are doing evil things to hobos. That's what they call them. Of course, it's not the correct term, but it's the term they use it, and they are going to troll them. They troll. They call them trolls, and they troll them. And so the story circles around this bunch of kids, police officers, and so on. It's very interesting. In terms of horror, I would say that it has like 30% of horror stuff there. Like in the last 100 pages, the remaining it's not horror at all. There are some key elements, but not horror per se. The next one I've read was Soishi by Junji Ito, which is this one. Wait, sorry. This is another Junji Ito novel, one of the last I've got to read, and it's a bit different from the other ones, although it's 400 pages. All of this character here, the Soishi, and all of these stories are interconnected, and it's kind of horror, but more like, it's not horror per se because it doesn't tell the monster that usually he dwells upon and strange stuff. It's more, this kid, is it he really does he have powers, or is it just psychological stuff, just weird guy, kid in this case, but it's very cool. I enjoy it a lot. I give it 9 out of 10. Next one I've read was Galaxy in Flames, which is the third novel in the Horus Heresy series. Although the 3 first ones can't be considered a trilogy, but they are not. They are a trilogy because they all tell the same story, but all others will tell stuff about those characters and other characters from the Horus Heresy. I enjoyed. I gave it a 8.9 out of 10. The only criticism I can have is because it was the battle scenes were not that well depicted. I hoped for more. It was supposed one of the darkest moments of history in 40k, in this case 30k, but with the purging of the good guys within the evil legions. So I hoped for more there, but fortunately, there is something missing. It's not bad, okay? It's good, but I think the two first were better. Another novel I read was Maze Master by Caitlin O'Neill Gear. It's a thriller, and probably one of the weakest of this month. I give it a 5 out of 10. And I bought a lot of their books, Caitlin and her husband, and this one was about the plague that was unleashing in the world, and they had to discover how to treat it. Unfortunately, there were some stuff there I didn't enjoy. First of all, Caitlin doesn't really explain how it all happened, how was it progressing in the world. He gave too much focus on the characters, but nothing we knew about the world, what's going on with the world. And to me, that was a non-plus, because I hope for more information about the world, the problems they are facing within the world, why America acted like they acted, and so on. And that didn't happen at all. Dark Nocturne. This is the 10th novel of Vampire Hunter D. I gave it a 6 out of 10. It's not one of the best because, to be honest, this is a short story collection. There are 3 stories within, and although one of them it's good, the other 2 were a bit bland. I'm not going to spoil because it's about this character that we all know as Vampire Hunter D. Next one, The Beast Must Die. I give it a 6 out of 10. This is the 8th book on the 12-part series, because here, okay, it's the same author, Cavthorpe. No, Pencounter, Cavthorpe. Because the battle, it was interesting because this one deals with humans trying to get back to the orcs planet. The problem is that with 200 pages, too much information was put in there, and there wasn't time to explain better the forces, how the fighting was going. It's just like this happened and it happened and it happened, and it felt very bland. Supposedly this is one of the worst wars that humanity has entered after the 30k, of course, after Horus Heresy, 2000 years after. We lost a full Primarch here, and it didn't felt it like that. It felt like, okay, we had another battle and they lost. Okay, they lost a lot of battles. So, but and supposedly this was a turning point in terms of the chapters, the Space Marine chapters. Uma aventura na quintologia Enigmas. This is a Portuguese story. This is the 65 novel, and one that is signed by the author. Can you see it? No. Okay. You can't see it, but believe me. Okay, you can see it there. It's signed by the author. The authors, in this case too. I'm not going to talk about this Portuguese middle grade stuff, but I enjoy. I've been reading since I was a teenager, and I still read it. Finally, I finished Shadows of the Empire by the Star Wars novel, and it was this book is between the second and the third movie, so the 5th and the 6th one, Empire Strikes Back and Return of Jedi, and deals with the how did Leia, Lando, Luke, and so on dealt with those in between years. What were they doing? Why they decided to go that way in the Return of Jedi to save Han and so on? And this deals with that. Also, it deals with this guy here, which is Prince Gisor, which is like a prince of the underground, and it was very interesting to see that character deals with Darth Vader and the Emperor. But apart from that, the other story about the other characters I didn't care about, sincerely. It was boring as ever. Prince Leia was bedridden. There was another character that was the same name. Well, it It was Han Solo, but without the name. I'm sorry. I will not edit that part out because I don't have the skills. And then we have the last book I've read was Run by Blake Crouch, which I enjoyed. It was an audiobook in this case. It's a thriller post-apocalyptic novel where humanity have gone evil basically, and people start killing themselves, one another, and a family which was not affected by this, like some other people, they must survive. Imagine how do they call it, the Crossed. You remember the books called Crossed, which deals with this. The humanity has become insane and they are only thinking of killing, raping, and so on. This is PG, but okay. Now, what I am reading right now, I'm not going to finish in September unless I read a lot today and tomorrow. But I'm finishing Orson Scott Card, Speaker for the Dead, which I'm halfway through. I may really enjoy it. It's very different from Ender, totally different. The good part is like the Portuguese there, it's there. I'm also reading at a slow pace because I have saw the series. It's called Wool by Hugh Howey. This is like a compilation of some other novellas he wrote within this world. So first he wrote the first one I've read. It was called Alston, and then Gouging something, Power Gouge, and I've wrote those two, and they can be read independently. Okay, you don't know much, but they can be read. And I read like this 12 years ago, 13, probably more. I remember working, probably in 2013, so a lot, 10 years ago. And then the book, he wrote some more stuff. It became a full-length novel, and there is also two novels afterwards that continues this series. They are connected because they are in the same world, but they are independent. You can read them independently. This one can be read totally independently. The other one is Shift and Dust, and I'm enjoying. I'm almost half of it, so not half, but 30%. I was reading Raven Cry, the second novel on the Ed MacDonald series, the Raven Mark, I believe, Raven's Mark, yeah. I'm like 110 pages of 400 pages, so a quarter there. These three I'm going to be reading next month as well, slow by slow, because they are more slow novels to read. And that's it. These three novels I'm reading currently. And so what I'm going to read next month, or of course, because it's October, novels I'm certainly going to read. Misery by Stephen King. This one is a must because I've already started couple of days ago, just to see if I was going to enjoy it. Sorry, I'm going to put here. The second novel I'm going to read without an adult, it's going to be The Exorcist, hardcover edition by William Peter Blatty. These two, I'm definitely going to read them. And then there are a couple others I'm going to read as well. So let me just show you. The first one going to be Bird Box. It's also a movie, but I've watched the movie and I watched the sequel. I enjoyed a lot about the world and I want to know more, so I got it. Bird Box. This is one I'm also going to read this month. Next, I'm going to read also these two, The Lair of the Crystal Fang and Rosemary's Baby. One, this is Lovecraftian stuff. This one everyone knows about the Rosemary Baby, and this is Lovecraftian in the Arkham horror genre. If I've got the time not if I've got the time. I've got the time. I'm going to read also Devour of the Death and the Death. This is the 12th book on the Splatterpunk series. I'm slowly buying them. I'm missing two to read. This one and the third, and the Brian Smith novel. So I'm going to read this one without any doubts. And finally, Tim Curran, Fear Me. And finally, as always, this month, I'm going to read Dominion by Bentley Little. So this one, as it is in the Richard Lemon's. Bentley is also one of my favorite horror writers, so I'm going to read it without any doubt. I think I can read like 12 novels, 10, 12, which is usually my goal. And my goal is also to read these two. The first one is Afraid, Whispers in the Dark, by Jonathan Aycliffe. I don't know why I say Afraid. Okay, it's the next one. This one is probably... I've read almost all of his novels, Jonathan Aycliffe. I believe I'm missing this one and two more. One of which I don't have I can't read because I don't have. I would read Afraid by J.A. Conrad. If I enjoy this novel, I'm going to get the other ones. But since they can be read individually, I started with this one. It sure looks my genre. And finally, these ones are the ones I'm going to read. And the other ones are like, if I have the time. Ruins by Scott Smith. Big novel to read. If I have the time, I have got some choices here. Dark Mountain by Richard Lemon. Last Days by Adam Neville. This one, I have not read this one. I've read another of him, Ritual, and I didn't enjoy it. So this one is like, let me try. Dark Water is also a very famous Japanese movie of horror by Kunji Suzuki. Empty Mile by Matthew Stoke. Peter Berkbrad, The Awakening. And Ancient Image, Ramsey Campbell.